this is Endigo, and today we are saying goodbye to GameTrailers. Jesus. Welcome to my channel, my name is Endigo, and today I feel like I need to say something, I need to do something. Look, I know a lot of my viewers aren't into gaming or even games media at all, so just to quickly brief on what's going on. As of yesterday, GameTrailers.com is no more. They were shut down with less than a day's notice by their parent company, Defy Media, I assume. This is all very shocking, not just to me, but to most of games media and games enthusiasts in general around the world, not to mention the people of GameTrailers themselves. GameTrailers.com, for those of you who might have missed, was essentially a website that started off by having game trailers up there when they started like 13 years ago. But the site evolved into so much more. It became its own little family, its own little community, with all these amazing personalities and all these shows going on, including, among others, The Final Bossman, the show that I'm ripping off right now, in honor, I guess. Now, game trailers have meant so much to me. I've been watching their stuff every single day for the past 10 years. There literally hasn't been a single day in the past decade where I haven't somehow talked about or done something that has involved game trailers in any way. They've been a huge part of me and shaping me to be a host and an entertainer and everything. So today, in honor of game trailers and the people working there, I want to give you my top 6 things I've learned from being a huge fan of game trailers for the better part of the past decade. Number 1, GT taught me to stand up for my opinion and be true to myself. Starting off the list, I want to talk directly to Mr. Kyle Bossman, one of the hosts and producers of Game Trailers, if he ever watches this video. Hi Kyle, huge fan. So the reason I started doing YouTube at all back in 2013 was because I had seen this one video pop up over at Game Trailers called the PlayStation Meeting Do's and Don'ts, in which a guy called Kyle Bossman was sitting at a desk, much like this one, and just giving his top reasons for things that PlayStation should do and don't do when they were about to announce the PlayStation 4 at the PlayStation meeting. I thought that video was so hilarious, and I thought Kyle himself was both very witty but also clearly very smart. He's a really smart person, Kyle. Probably way smarter than I could ever be. He had a very distinct sense of humor, which I get that many people might not understand, but I totally do. So, Jesus Christ. Following that video, he got his own show running at Game Trailers called The Final Bossman, which has been going pretty much every Wednesday for the past 3 years, pretty much. And I've been watching every single episode, every week, tuning in and commenting and tweeting and everything, and oh my god. Now, Kyle is a man who has a lot of opinions, and he's got a very distinct sense of humor and a distinct sense of style. However, what actually really struck me about him in the first place and made me want to follow watching The Final Bossman for all these years was that he was always very certain when he had an opinion. He always knew exactly what he thought, or at least that's what he managed to project outwards, and he also mixed it with his very esoteric humor, and I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. And you know, some people might not have, a lot of people did, but what inspires me the most is that no matter what happened with the show and what happened to Game Trailers and being bought and sold and stuff going on, he was always true to his own ideas and what he believed in. So thank you, Kyle and Game Trailers, for giving me the courage to be true to what I believe in and to stand by my opinions and do what I believe. Number 2, Game Trailers taught me to always seek out the positive. So, Michael Huber. Michael Huber was one of the hosts at Game Trailers as well. He was the host of a show called Huber Hype, running every Tuesday, and also one of the frequent members of all the different Let's Plays and GT Time, their podcast and everything. Michael Huber was notorious for always being very jolly and always having a very positive attitude, and I believe that might have actually affected even the rest of the GT crew. But what I personally took away from him was that no matter how bad things may seem, or no matter how bad something seems to be, Michael Huber managed to somehow get me to realize that there's always good to be found somewhere. And I absolutely get that it's very easy to just focus on the negatives when things are not going your way and when things are feeling bad. but somehow I kind of feel like you could choose to look at the negatives, absolutely, or you could choose to focus on what's positive. That is something that Michael Huber was always, and is, I assume still, very great at. And for that, I want to say thanks, Michael Huber, for being so positive all the time and inspiring me to be the most positive person I can be. Number 3, GameTrailers taught me that it's okay to be yourself, and as long as you enjoy what you're doing, you can never fail. So, Ian Hink, hi. You follow me on Twitter, I follow you. Beauty boy. Where do I start with Ian Hink? Ian Hink is maybe one of the most creative people I've ever seen, and I know it might not come across like that the first time you watch his videos, but when you dig a little deeper, you find a guy who is so smart and so philosophical, but at the same time so extremely creative and expressive. And I have not seen anybody else ever in games media be as expressive about showing who they are and being themselves on camera, especially not when they work professionally with a huge company like, for instance, GameTrailers. Even though this was his job as a games journalist, he still wouldn't let that stop him from expressing himself in his hair, or how he looked, or how he dressed, or how he did his nails, or anything. Even during their podcasts or their group discussions or whatever, when they were talking about a certain topic, Ian would never be afraid to say exactly what he thought. He was so bold, and I admire that so much. Anybody who can express what they feel and what they say on a professional basis, if you know what I mean, that is something worth admiring so much. Also, people can say whatever they want about mandatory update and what it turned out to be towards the end, but for me, I saw so much creativity in there. Like, he did a whole episode which was essentially 5 minutes of him sitting, looking depressed, with like camera angles switching front and back, and like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to have on your games media website, but it was there and I watched it, the entirety of it, like twice. And Ian Hink might be the only postmodernistic games journalist I have ever seen, if that makes sense. And for that, I just want to say thank you, Ian, for showing me that it is okay to be yourself, especially in professional situations. I would never have dared to be me professionally if it wasn't for, well, you. Number 4, GT taught me that sometimes you won't have anyone to share your love with, but that won't make it any less real. Okay, so Ben Moore, hi. Ben Moore was always the otaku out of the bunch, I guess. He was the guy who was really into JRPGs and more niche stuff like that. Now granted, he was not the only person who enjoyed JRPGs at the GT office, but he was definitely the JRPG guy, if that makes sense. Ben Moore would often mention stuff that nobody had played and nobody could relate to. I very distinctly remember their Just Played when he came back from E3 having played No Man's Sky, and he was trying to convey to the rest of GT crew why No Man's Sky was so great based on what Sean Murray of Hello Games had said himself at the demonstration. And they kind of bought it to some extent, but Brandon Jones absolutely didn't. But it was okay because I really saw in Ben, like, he absolutely meant every word he said, and that's just one of the many examples of Ben's love for the niche. And while many other people at the GT office may not have played the same amount of JRPGs to the same extent, or be as involved with Persona or other niche games, Ben Moore still projected this extreme passion for it, and it didn't matter if people did not fully relate, because he knew what he liked and he was happy with that. I might sound completely ridiculous right now, but that's how I feel. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to Ben Moore for showing me that sometimes it's okay to love something, even if nobody around you feels the same. Number 5, GT taught me to fight for my dreams. So, Brandon Jones, founder and editor-in-chief of GameTrailers. Hi. While I absolutely feel like everybody in the GT staff contributed to what was the GT spirit, Brandon Jones was truly the heart and backbone of GT, I feel. Brandon Jones co-started GT 13 years ago, and he's been going ever since. And he's been with the company through everything, through people getting hired and people getting laid off, to the company getting sold by Viacom and bought by Defy Media, having to see most of the staff get fired and still trying to keep this core of GT together and being able to do that for so long. There is nothing about Brandon that is not worth admiring, and I'm so inspired and frankly humbled to have had the honor of witnessing GT through all these years, seeing how it started, what it had to go through, and what it ended up being. And frankly, GT up until the very end was amazing. It was truly one of its kind, and you know, I don't want to discredit the rest of GT, but I can't help but like Brandon, wow. Like, let's be honest now, Brandon Jones, you have been voicing every single review pretty much, and most of the videos that have ever come out of GT. You realize that your voice has been the voice of me growing up. Like, I've literally heard your voice probably for more hours throughout my life than most of my friends, and that is so weird to say, but it's true. Like, you are not only the voice of GameTrailers, but honestly, you are the voice of games media. And not having you around to voice reviews anymore, it's gonna be weird. So with that said, Brandon Jones, I just want to say thanks for teaching me that if you truly believe in something, it is worth fighting for, even up to the very last minute, and you know, with all odds against you. Even if you can't win, whatever you do, you fought for your dream, and that is worth Jesus Christ. And that is worth everything. You fought the good fight, and for that I truly admire you. And finally, number 6. I really did not expect myself to. And finally, number 6. GameTrailers taught me that friendship conquers all. I'm sorry, I did not expect myself to get this emotional, but you could really tell the last year that the few of them who still got to keep their jobs and keep working at GameTrailers for the last year, you could tell that they were truly, like, something was in the air. They knew that something wasn't right with GameTrailers, and they still kept going. And you could tell that they became so much closer, and all this turmoil with layoffs and the company getting sold and risking getting shut down, it all brought them so much more together. And even when things looked the worst, they still kept it together and they kept smiling. And you know, even last night when they had announced that GameTrailers was shutting down the same day, they did one last live stream where they would all just sit together and play GTA 3, which was the first game they ever showed on GameTrailers, and that entire stream they were all smiling and laughing and joking. And even as that video ended, they would all get together and just hug and smile and like, goodbye, this was it. And this was never about the company. This was never about the money. It was just about them. About them being friends and hanging out together. And so when GameTrailers gets shut down, we don't just lose a company or a YouTube channel. Like, these were friends, and they were all just doing this out of pure passion. I really didn't want to get emotional in this video, but and I think where this gets important is because GameTrailers was not just another company or another YouTube channel or another games fucking magazine on the internet. GameTrailers was a family. They were a family, and all of us, their audience. Jesus Christ. Sorry. GameTrailers was a family. The company was a family, and all of us, the audience, we were all one giant family, and we will all tune in every week to watch the Final Bossman or Huber Hype or GT Countdown, or like listen to GT Time every single Friday morning. So having GameTrailers shut down is not just having the company of GT shut down. Having GT shut down is having our entire family split up. Oh, I'm so sorry, I really am. This is very awkward. But at the end of the day, GameTrailers taught me that no matter what happens, friendship conquers all. And I'm positive the guys will keep staying together no matter what, somehow. And you know, I just wish they could find a solution, start a collective YouTube channel or start a Patreon or, you know, anything, because I know we are many who would happily subscribe to that Patreon with like pay the monthly fee. I don't pay any people who does Patreon at all, but I would definitely be in it for GameTrailers if they came back and do anything. So with all that said, Brandon Jones, Cal Bossman, Ian Hink, Ben Moore, Michael Huber, Matt Blair, Don Casanova, Daniel Bloodworth, and Brad Ellis, thank you so much for being the best family I've ever not actually been part of. Also, I just want to give a few shoutouts to Michael Damiani, Elise Willems, Marcus Beer, and even Michael Pachter for being not on GT towards the very end, but still being such a big part of me growing up. All of you guys, and the rest of GT, all of the past GT staff, even Jeff Keighley. Thank you for inspiring me to be the person I'm trying to be today. If anybody of GameTrailers would somehow actually find and watch this video, I just want to say, you guys have affected so many people in the world. You guys have changed so many lives throughout the world for the better, whether you realize it or not. And for that, me and all of us watching GT, beauty boys, as Ian would call us, regardless of gender, thank you for these years. And hopefully, you know, see you in the future with another brand name or something. But whether or not that happens, thank you for these years. Anyway, that was this video. My normal videos will be back to normal as of next time. I just really needed to get this off my chest because GameTrailers just meant so much to me. Thank you, GameTrailers, for all these years. You were my rock stars. And see you around.